Welcome to another episode of Dr. Brooke on the Block. It's time to grab a seat, buckle up, and take a ride with me through the wild, wild west of the Web3 universe, where we're going to learn all about coins and tokens, NFTs and contracts, digital real estate and the metaverse, and so much more. There's a lot to get through on the block, but I am here to pave the way and help you avoid those nasty pitfalls and rug pulls so you don't get hurt. I'm going to also introduce you to some interesting characters along the way. Are you ready? Your ride starts now. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Brooke on the Block. If you are new here, buckle those seatbelts super tight because you are in for an amazing ride today. If you are a returning user, you know what you are expecting or you know what's going to be happening. So today I am joined by an amazing co-pilot, Caitlin Strempel. Caitlin is the CEO of Metamint Marketing, which is the first ever woman-owned marketing and design agency geared towards facilitating successful NFT launches for women by women. Caitlin, welcome to the show. So happy you're here today.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to chat all things NFTs, Web3, marketing. So excited to be here.
Love it. So excited to have you guys or have you here. Can you tell us, this is the first question I love to ask my guests on the show because I think it's such a fascinating question and it facilitates a lot of different answers for people. But what is your Web3 origin story? How did you enter this space and what were you doing before that brought you here?
Yeah, so I feel like you might get this one a lot, but my husband at first really started getting into crypto, and this was a long time ago. This was probably like 6 years ago. And we were looking at crypto and we put some money in. And at that point in time, like it wasn't like it is now, but you could try to transfer it and it could just disappear. And that happened to us. We pressed like one wrong button and our crypto disappeared into the ethers. Like it was just gone. And so that was my first experience with cryptocurrency. And I was like, we are not doing this ever again. And then fast forward a few years later, he knows that I love art and digital art. And he was like, you have to look at NFTs, just look at it. And I was like, okay, like I will, like what, I'll get to it, at some point in time. But what really got me into it was when we had a client with our Web2 agency come to me and say, hey, I know that you don't do anything with Web3, but I know you love to launch. I would love to have you come on and just help me with this. And we launched in a very Web2 way. This was before I did, my full deep dive research, but I helped him. He had a marijuana shop and it was very Web2, but like they wanted to add in a Web3 element. So that was like my baby step into Web3 launching and marketing and all of that. And once I started researching that and getting into that and helping him out with that and seeing that I could do it, I dove deep down the rabbit hole, met a ton of people, and just kind of, I love it. I love technology. I love being part of the future. I love building. I love thinking creatively, which is what this space is all about. And what really got me to stay there and fall in love with the space was the people that I met along the way.
Absolutely. So beautiful. I love that. So is that how the Metamint marketing agency kind of got started with that first initial Web2 client who helped kind of bridge you over to Web3? And then you said, whoa, we can do this. We can do this for so many more people.
Yes. So I saw that we could do this. Like I was like, all right, it's very different, but when you break it down to the studs, it is, the intention is the same, connections, building a brand, things like that. But I also noticed that this space has a ton of artists and they need a lot of support in everything, in health and wellness, as I'm sure you know, in law, in accounting. And I saw that what was lacking was that support for the artist, for these people that I've fallen in love with and who have met along the way. And I knew that my marketing could help people in the Web3 space.
I love that. It's so beautiful. To quickly just anchor back to something you've said, if some people get confused along the way. So Web 2, when Caitlin mentioned that, Web 2 is pretty much a definition of social media that we know today, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of that. So people that are utilizing marketing techniques in those spaces or looking to create personal brands, that's Web 2. Web 3 takes it to a whole new level and allows you to have personal ownership of that brand that you're building, instead of just giving all of that information to Instagram or YouTube and having those platforms essentially dictate what they're doing with it and deciding they're going to deplatform you if you do something against their guidelines. Web3 gives you that freedom. And I think that that's the beautiful thing of the whole transition and where we're going in this space. So just to kind of piggyback on that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, Web3, one of the big facets of Web3, and one thing that I've learned to come and love about it, is the community aspect. It is just like you said, there's artists, there's musicians, there's all sorts of people that are coming into the space understanding, wow, I get to control and create and make my beautiful mark in the world. And they build these strong communities of people around that. What do you think is like the most important thing with cultivating that kind of community?
I think it's understanding the culture of Web3. Web3, yes, is technology, but it's also a culture. And the people coming into this space, they usually have a very big passion, a very big purpose. People want to build together. And beyond that, it's just, I honestly, I'm just obsessed with all of it. Like, they want to build, they want to have a purpose, and they want to build wealth in the space.
Yes.
So it's coming in and knowing that, and seeing how you can also help other people while also building a personal brand for yourself, which all and really comes down to building community. When you're starting with nothing, when you don't have a budget, you are building friendships in the space, and that's going to be the launch pad for anything that you do in Web3.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things too that I like to talk about. This is, like, to me, what I believe to be the greatest transfer of financial wealth in history. You know, and to be able to go through this at really early stages. And if you're listening to this now, understand you are still very early on in the game. The boat has not sailed. But I keep coming back to it. If you keep waiting, if you keep waiting, if you keep waiting, the ship will sail, and you'll be like, ugh. And so right now it's important to go on the offense, learn everything you can. Caitlin has probably been the 100th person I've heard say, I went down the rabbit hole. And if you hear my story, it's always, I went down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
My other guests on the show, I went down the rabbit hole. And that is truly what it is. It's going on the offense, going on down the rabbit hole, learning what you need to learn about this space so you don't get left behind. Because here we are, we're sharing with you all these little nuggets of gold on how you can actually access that sense of community, but also get financially wealthy as a result.
Yes.
And I think it's what makes Web3 so freaking cool.
Yes, I love it. And there is something to be said about being early. You know, if you show up early and leave your footprint, leave your mark, and you stick with it, it's going to pay off. And I've already seen it pay off with everyone else I've seen in this space too. So it pays to get in early.
Yes, perfect. So to segue into that, I had mentioned to you a statistic. We have about 4 million people, give or take. Some people jump out, some people come in. Give or take, currently, right now, the global population of people utilizing any Web3 product is 4 million. Now, if you understand the 4 million people out of 7 billion plus, like, it's a very, very small percentage, maybe 3% of the global population is actually utilizing crypto. Of that 3%, 37% of those are ladies, women, non-binary, people who identify as the female gender. It is such a small percentage. And I get so passionate because I'm like, ladies, like, we have sat there and tried to fight against the system that is very geared towards the male dominance. And not that I'm knocking our male friends and, you know, our people in this space, but we really need to rise up, and we really need to have our voices heard. And we have a lot to contribute to the Web3 universe, to the Web3 world that is being created right in front of us. What would you say? I'm sorry, I know I get like on a soapbox about this, but
I
it's
love
like,
it.
ladies, come on, girl.
And I preach, yes.
Yes. So what would you say to a woman or somebody who identifies as a woman or non-binary that is sitting on the sidelines right now, unsure of the next step to take, unsure of how to even get involved, unsure of what to do next? What would you say to a lady or to our friends to get into this space or to understand this space better?
Yeah, there is a group of people waiting for you. And what is
Absolutely.
beautiful about this space is that you'll come on. And I know when I came on, I had people reach out to me right away and be like, I love what you're doing with the space. I see you going far. Here are my takeaways. And I've really, there's something special about that. And I think everybody coming on has felt that. And
Mm-hmm.
we feel also that we need to do our due diligence and we need to pay it forward. And well, not that we need to, but we want to.
Yeah.
It's something that's so special. It's the energy, and that we want to make sure that that is preserved in the space. So if this is something that you are interested in, you may or may not be interested, you don't even know if you're interested, go and poke around on Twitter and TikTok. Maybe just Google what is an NFT and reach out to people that you find on these social platforms. We will reach back out. We will guide you in the right direction if we can't help you ourselves. And that is the beauty of this space right now, is that we are here waiting and ready to help and point you in the right direction. We can help you find resources. We will build resources for you. You can go on and build resources. But like we said, we go down this rabbit hole. It is a rabbit hole and it can be daunting. So start slow and think about what it is in your life that you're passionate about. And I think that is a really good starting point of just finding out the basics of what is an NFT, what's the blockchain, and then figuring out, okay, well, how can I take my passion in? And that will help you kind of direct your focus. And then you can go down like one rabbit hole instead of like 50,000 rabbit holes.
I love that. That's amazing. That's such great advice, is really figuring out what your passion is and then diving deep into that. If you are an artist, if you're a musician, I am not. I'm a healthcare provider, but I have now connected my dots to understand how I can share with people how their own body is a blockchain. And we're going to learn blockchain by understanding the human body, or we're going to, if they have an understanding of blockchain, we're going to break it down to where they understand their health in a different way. And so that's my lane, right? I found my lane, and I'm educating people on that space as well. But I think it's amazing what you just said about really going down into whatever that passion is. You may not feel like you have, quote unquote, something for the Web3 space because it seems too artsy, or these JPEGs, or who's creating this. But you got to like take a step back and you got to understand, you are utilizing Facebook, you are utilizing Instagram, you are utilizing these social platforms, whichever ones you are on, in some sort of way to reach out to even if they're just friends and family, you do have a community on these platforms that you're reaching in some way with whatever you're doing. It could be inspirational quotes. It could be, who knows? It's all different for everybody, but it is important to go down that specific vertical, whatever it is, and learn. But the biggest step prior to that is exactly what Caitlin said, is TikTok, YouTube, what is an NFT? And look at all the different videos, look at the different things that show up, or what is blockchain technology? and understanding that, the different pieces and the facets, and then it kind of helps drive down the other components and where you can find your fit in that space.
I so agree with that. And if you're like, I don't know, just, go in there and check out the culture and meet people. Like that is the biggest thing, is just meet people, say hi, just listen to their conversations. That's all you have to do. And I do think that even if you get in there and you're like, oh, I don't want to really touch this from a business standpoint, I think it is very important to still get in and make sure that you understand the culture, you understand the technology, because we're already seeing it. Big brands are starting to tap in. NBA, they have certain tickets and events that are all through the blockchain, all through NFTs. And we're going to see this more and more as the years go on. So it is going to be a technology that will be integrated into our everyday lives at some point.
Absolutely. And with that said, so one of the episodes on this podcast, which if you're brand new listener, just go back to, what is an NFT or future use cases of an NFT where I talk about this. So, housing markets, like legal contracts, all of these things, health records,
Yes.
supply chain, like manufacturers using supply chains, like you said, tickets to events, all of these things are going to utilize this technology in the next 10 to 15 years, in front of us. Is there one specific area in terms of NFT usage that you think, because I know the gaming is already kind of taking off and the PFP profile photos, all of those things, but like the future use cases in terms of how we're going to interact with it in our space, is there one particular one that you think is coming sooner than another?
I think the events one is already here.
Yes,
we're seeing it with collabs and things like that. The next one, this is so interesting to me. DAOs is also a big one, which I think is just more talking about agencies in general, which I think is a big one, because if we're coming into Web3 and we need marketing, all these services, okay, well, what does a Web3 agency look like? What does like a Web3, any type of business look like? Yeah. So I think businesses are trying to feel into like, okay, not only how can we utilize Web3, but how do we actually become immersed in Web3? How do we actually become immersed in the culture? So I think DAOs are going to be big. So that's more of like tokenization and getting tokens and NFTs into this DAO. And then like what you said too, I think is so interesting. And I don't know if it's coming. I don't think it's going to be here sooner than later, but it's what interests me a lot is the soul chain of your health records of, anything that you can think of that is medical or tied to you as a human being will eventually be placed on the blockchain, which is just, I think, nutso to think about.
Isn't that crazy? I know. I was, when I was explaining this on the podcast, on that episode I had done previously, I was sharing how even as a physician, we're always having to call, send fax, do like whatever to try to get these, or the patients, are trying to download from their electronic health record themselves to try to get a hold of it. And it's such a mess because it's not, it's decentralized enough to where we can access it as physicians, the information that we need. I just have to add a caveat. For those people who might be thinking, what the heck? I don't want my information out there on the blockchain.
Fair point.
Understand there are private blockchains. So Bitcoin is a public blockchain. There will be private blockchains that are built that house this information that only certain people can access. And it's not going to just be publicly out there that whatever your conditions are, it's doctor to doctor, physician to physician in that case.
Yeah. And I love that. Just think about having, one little wallet address and it has all of your records on there. For me too, I'm like, I don't know when the last time I got this shot was, or like, I don't know the last time I took this medication. It could be all on there just on one little link.
Right. Absolutely. And sorry, this just randomly popped up in my head. So for those, if you're males listening to this, just bear with me. But a lot of times as females, we go in to see our gynecologist, right? And they're like, well, when's your last menstrual period? And you're like, 3 weeks ago. Like, you have no date of it. Imagine that, like you said, you just have the one wallet address, you track things, because a lot of us tend to track it on an app or something. You track it, boom, and it's right there. They have it, and there's the date, and they just put it into the medical record, and it's done. Like, I don't know. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, very cool. So there is a lot of like incredible stuff coming out of the NFT blockchain world to just kind of hammer that point in. So I want to talk to you specifically because I know you're doing your own project, your own NFT project called the Collaboration Room. And this is geared towards women, a community, women coming together. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more and go into as much detail as you would like to about Collaboration Room, when it's minting? I think it's already minted for the first phase. You're moving on to different phases of that, and then how they might be able to get involved.
Yeah, so this is interesting because talk about everything new. So it is a networking and connection group for the non-binary baddies and women of Web3 to come together. And it really was, actually now looking back, I'm like, there's so many paths pointing me to why I launched this and why it's so dear to my heart is I've been parts of so many different things that have kind of basically have made me feel more lonely versus more connected.
Mhm.
So it was that versus like me feeling like, okay, now we can build from the ground up. I haven't seen anything like this. I want to build a networking group and a connection group in Web3, like starting fresh and making sure that it is one that is built very intentionally, where everyone
Mhm.
feels welcome, where, we can lead together. So our tagline is hand in hand, we lead. And it also kind of the idea sprouted in my head from a lot of messages that I was receiving of people reaching out being like, hey, I know you do marketing, but I was really curious, like, what is the going rate for this? My floor price is dropping. How do I do that? Which is if you have an NFT project, it's the price, like, sometimes it can go down. And there was just all these questions that were coming from a lot bigger place than just like, what's an NFT? So it was the builders coming in and then being like, okay, I'm here, I'm building, and now I have larger questions and I don't know what to do. So it kind of was taking that. So more of like the how do we build together? How do we generate wealth? A lot of people were like, I'm doing all these things, but I haven't gotten paid yet. So from that aspect to the connection aspect, I was like, all right, like this needs to happen. And I vetted the idea through some good friends that I met online, in person. And it was like, yes, I need this. And every person I talked to was like, I need this. Like, when can we start?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So we're doing that. And so we launched. However, when I realized that what I wanted does not exist on the blockchain, which is basically a networking community on the blockchain. It's membership based, monthly or yearly, which does not exist yet. Token gated communities exist, but not ones that run on this membership type of platform. So I launched it right away. We launched it very Web2 through PayPal. It was the option. You could do it through PayPal, which is, whatever
or
currency
crypto.
or crypto. So we did it that way. And now we're building together. So the founding members, the first 100 founding members, they help basically decide where our platform's going to live in the interim until we build a place where we can live together on like a monthly and yearly membership basis. But the founding members, they have a one-time price and it's for life, basically because they are putting their trust in this project that, we are going to take this and we're going to build. And because you are here with me while we're building this platform, like you will be rewarded. So right now, because we are still building, anyone can come on, but any marketing is done through either me or only the members of the calibration room, which has been really incredible. And I think it helps us get that money now so we can go out there and we can build. It also helps just solve a need that really needed to be solved. And we're building it together so everyone feels a part of it. And it also is bringing in people who we feel comfortable bringing in. So it really truly does feel like a really cozy, creative container at this point in time. And we're building it together. Like I had somebody reach out to me like, hey, I think that you should be on LinkedIn. Like, can I help you get on LinkedIn? And I was like, yes, please.
Talk about community.
Yeah.
Like that is the essence of community right there. Exactly what you're describing.
And it's beautiful to have people come and just lend their ideas and lend their help. And, while we can also support their businesses too and their projects, whatever they are working on. And it runs the gamut. It's everyone in Web3. We have augmented reality. We have people in the metaverse. We have artists. We have service providers. And so the service, what we do provide, the support that we provide is that we have a collective call, which is one call with everybody every month. And it's to talk about those bigger questions, like, maybe it's money mindset. What is hindering us from making more money in this space or any money at all? And just, different ways of like setting intentions and things like that. And then we have calibration pods, which are 4 to 6 people. And it's you coming together with your pod once a month and coming with a problem that you have that you want support with. So you're getting that hands-on very specific support that is all catered to you. And then we have the Discord for, that ongoing support in between these larger meetings. But the beauty of this is that, my big goal is deep connection and networking, but also wealth generation for non-binary and women of Web3. That is 100% the goal. This is where it came from, because women are coming to me being like, all right, we're here, but now we don't get paid. And, how can we change this narrative? And so everything is done. Like, once you come into the community, you're with me, we're building intellectual property assets together, and anything being sold off of that, like the members get rewarded. So we have all different types of collaborations. Once you come in, you get a code. So people will refer people out with their code, and they'll get a kickback. So some people have already made back their investment. So it's really twofold of like, okay, we are getting people in here, we're connecting, but we're also paying people. Anyone who comes and trains, they get paid. And it's really kind of like starting to get that energy flow of money within underrepresented groups in this space.
I love it. Love it. Love it. That is so incredible and so amazing. And I hope you guys really listen to what Caitlin had to say there. If not, rewind, go back and listen to it, because that is truly, truly, truly the essence of what community is all about, and how when the group collective wins, everybody wins. Yes. This is not Caitlin becoming a multi-millionaire on the backs of all of us paying our monthly dues to her, which would still be cool, because if we're paying monthly dues for something and we're getting a lot of value from it, then we don't mind spending our dollars. But this brings, like, in Web3 brings in a whole different facet of these ideas of these monthly memberships, or these masterminds that people may have spent and invested a ton of money into and not felt like they've gotten the value from it. Yeah. I do have to ask you, just from like a different standpoint, if somebody was to come into the calibration room and they said, okay, I've been here for 6 months or a year, I've outgrown this, or I don't feel like my value, I have the same value that I was getting at the beginning, can they sell, quote unquote, sell their NFT to that collaboration room entry ticket, the key to get in there, on the secondary market, and win in that sense as well?
Yeah. So NFTs are only for the first 111 founding members. So we're about 40% sold right now for just the founding members. That is lifetime access.
Yep.
So that's basically how you get your rewards for like money kickback and things like that. That will always be sold. And that I see always growing in value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like the more intellectual property we build, the higher the value of just having stake in the company. It just is more. Everything else. So right now, the payments will be through PayPal on a monthly basis. Or it's me manually, invoicing until we set up our platform. And at that point in time, you'll be purchasing our certain tokens that we create. And then at that point in time, then you could stop paying your monthly memberships or your yearly memberships, or you could sell off your NFT.
Nice. See, I mean, it works in so many different ways. And I love how you also, I just have to give you so much credit for this. And I just don't feel like people understand what it takes to really create something, not only in this space, but to bring something to life in the world as a business owner and an entrepreneur, excuse me. And I think it's so fascinating that even though you haven't had every single piece figured out, you're willing to take the step one step at a time, and like are willing to work all of the little kinks and twists out of the hose line per se, to put it out into the world and to create a space for women and non-binary people to come together in the calibration room and to win as a community and as a whole. So I just massive kudos to you, Caitlin, for that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's been launched backwards, but it's, for a purpose, and it's very intentional. And I feel that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important because a lot of people, if you're just looking at the financial markets and you're like, well, I'm not going in because Bitcoin's coming down to zero and blah, 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 like all the noise that we hear, what people are doing during this bear market, the real true people, the pioneers that are going to make it beyond what we're enduring right now and experiencing is the builders. And you're a builder, Caitlin, and that needs to be known. So you definitely are an inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's fascinating. So on the backs of that and talking about NFTs and where we're at, I know you have the Metamint company, the marketing company that you're helping people with their NFT launches. And there's so many things that go into a successful NFT launch. Of all the components, whether it's building the community or getting people to know who you are, building that brand and all of the pieces, figuring out what chain you're going to mint on and what it's going to look like and blah, 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 all of it. What do you think is the most successful component of an NFT launch? From your experience?
Yeah, launching when you have a community. And granted, you can come in and people have done it where they've launched with zero community, which is totally fine, but then they have the expectation of selling out. If you want to go and you want to sell out or you want to, start with a bang, you need to have community. And it's not just the community that you're seeing now on Instagram with Instagram followers or Facebook followers. Yeah. It is true community. It is true reach out of you showing up and becoming friends with these people, becoming a support system for them. So it is a lot of like giving, how can I support you? And it doesn't have to be, all of your energy all day, every day, but it goes a long way when you reach out to people and say, hey, I love what you're doing. I would love to support you. When's your next Twitter space that I can show up to? Little things like that. Or I love that post that you did. I'm so honored that I could, retweet it. Little things like that go a long way, and listening to your community and seeing what they want and need from you. That's how Calibration Room launched, and it was basically me taking a look at what my community was, I guess I want to say directly asking, but also not directly asking. Like I was
indirectly,
indirectly, and like kind of like feeling it out and being like, this is what they need. Like, oh my gosh, so really staying in tune with your people.
Awesome. I love that. That is, again, community, community, community. If we've said one word so many times during this episode, the word community is popping up everywhere. So that is so important. Now, besides your own, I know this is kind of a curveball question. Besides your own NFT project, is there an NFT project that you are investing in or that you're very passionate about, would love to share with the listeners? Anything?
Yeah, so there are a few, and I'm really big on supporting the one-on-one artists and the passionate people, especially the ones that are still here. There's one that I like. It's called Fuzzy Mints.
Okay.
And I love her. She's been around, I think they launched in summer of 2021.
Okay.
And what her roadmap and how she laid everything out, I think is like the perfect case study of what a true NFT should look like. So it's like 3D art and it's animated. It's a little fuzzy guy and it's super cute. It bounces. And she created it out of a time in her life when she felt really, sad and down. And it's kind of like she ended up creating this beautiful, cute little fuzzy thing, but it has a really great purpose behind it of positivity and helping others. There's a gaming aspect, which I think is really cool. There is building together aspect. There is, when you hold your NFT, you can start building up tokens and start capitalizing on money and wealth that way, which I think is also cool. Like you said, it's like the community is building and there's different ways that you can get your investment back by not just holding the NFT and reselling it at some point, but being engaged with the community. And she is a slow mint, which I like too, because she has been around and she keeps going. And, she'll start doing this and it's not even a marketing campaign. It's like a push within the community of like uplifting everyone. And it's like every few quarters or every few months, she comes back. She's like, hey, this is what we're doing. And she gets people excited and she keeps people around.
I love it.
I have like a strong attachment to what she is doing in this space.
That's awesome. Is it FUZZYMINTS?
FUZZIEMINTS. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm definitely going to look that one up. I've never heard of that, but I love that project. I'm like, oh.
And her and Tom worked, her name's Saba, and her and Tom worked together, and they just started Twitter Spaces. So like in the bear market, they came, they're like, we're just going to show up and do Twitter Spaces.
Yeah.
The best Twitter Spaces I've ever been a part of. Like they get down and dirty about emotions, about self-improvement, about positivity. And I just think that just everything they do is on brand, but in a very intentional, genuine, authentic way about positive outlooks on life.
I love.
Yeah, I mean, it like has my heart. I'm like, saw them and I met them and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like as I was on this Twitter space, I was minting this NFT. This was, I think, like 2 months ago. And I've just been like obsessed with them ever since.
That's so awesome. I'm definitely going to check that out and see if I can find a fuzzy mint myself. Cause I love supporting projects like that. People who are really looking to stick around in the space, not just throwing things out there to try to get people to throw their crypto at it and then come right back out. You know, that's what I talk about with the rug pulls. You definitely don't want to invest in rug pulls because you will get hurt. You will get hurt in the process. And people that are truly looking to create impact and massive change in the world and build these sense of communities are the ones that are sticking around while the bear is out to play, because ultimately the bull will come back, but he's resting and he's taking a break. He was running really hard and we're here.
Yeah. And honestly, like any project I love, unless I know it's going to explode, you know, but I love looking at NFTs that launch and don't launch out. Yeah. Because I like to see what they do in the months leading up after that. And that's kind of what I see and how I decide to pick an NFT that I know I'm going to hold for the long run.
I like that. That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything you want to add or you feel like I missed before the ride is over?
I think we covered a lot of it, but I think, you know, just coming in and having fun and connecting is going to just be the best thing that you can do in regards to building your community, but also not burning out.
Absolutely. Love that. So how can people connect with you? How can they get in touch with you? How can they be part of the collaboration?
Calibration room. Yeah, everyone calls it the collaboration room. It's calibration. Like we're calibrating within ourselves. Yeah. So I'm personally on Twitter and TikTok as NFT Caitlin. I'm on LinkedIn as Caitlin Strempel. And then we also, the calibration room is also on Twitter and soon to be LinkedIn because of my amazing community member who is helping me.
Love that. Well, I will also link all of that in the show notes below so they can easily click on that and connect with you. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for co-piloting this ride with me. As we pull back into the station, you all are allowed to take your seatbelts off. I hope you learned a lot on this amazing wild ride through the wild, wild west of Web3. And I hope that it feels more clear, more calm, and it's getting less scary as we go. On that note, have a great rest of your day, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.
You made it. Congratulations. That wasn't so bad, was it? I hope you laughed and learned a little bit more about this Web3 universe and how simple and fun it can really be. Would you be so kind as to leave us a review and share it with your friends and family? It would mean so much to get this out to more people as we embark on the greatest transfer of wealth that has ever happened in human history. Can't wait to see you on the next one.